you've been on the show many times and always been incredible. And you're having, some people have a moment, and I think that's nice. They're having this moment. You're having more than a moment, and it's because you deserve it. Because you are a spectacular joke writer, an amazing performer, and your work ethic is off the charts. So to me, when I watched, everyone was like, oh my God, Nikki Glaser or Tom Brady roast, and you had this moment, you're always having moments like that. It's just that the planets lined up and everybody was watching.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was not, oh, isn't this incredible? Nikki had this amazing night. That's what you do.
Thank you.
And I'm telling you that I could tell that behind this incredible set, which will endure because it really is, no one's going to do a better roast set than that. I don't believe. I think you just did this thing, which is now going to be like, okay, where is it on the Nikki Glaser scale? It's a 6.2. Really, that's pretty good. It's not her 10. I looked at that and I thought, this is lots of talent, but talent, I've always said, doesn't interest me that much. What really interests me is work ethic and process. And I could tell, and then later on I read interviews.
My talent is my work ethic.
Well,
I do believe.
Guess what? I'm right with you. That I know. I honestly believe that. I was looking at it and I was thinking, she was not in a car on the way to this event writing this on the back of an envelope.
Right.
This is someone who got the assignment, and you correct me if I'm wrong, and it was like, okay, I'm going for it, and I'm going to put the work in. So you tell me what you did.
Yeah, it's exactly what happened. I knew it was going to be this moment that a lot of people would watch or talk about, or I didn't realize it would be as big as it was. But all these roasts that I've done, I've always kind of done the same process where I hire a team of writers and I treat it like, oh, if I was hosting the Oscars or something, I wouldn't do it alone. Your stand-up act. I think a lot of times stand-ups have to pride themselves on we just write everything ourselves. And I do that with my own stand-up act. But this, I was like, I want it to be a collaborative effort. I know that that's how I've done great in the past. And it's not my natural inclination to be a roasty person. I have to kind of get in that mode. So I instantly assembled a team and was like, here's who's going to be doing the roast, start sending me jokes. And then I start thinking in roast mode, and then I can start writing jokes. And then I took that set out so many times to different clubs, every single place, and then meeting with writers afterwards, in between sets, moving things around. Oh, let's change that word. Should I say retarded or retard? Getting down, having really.
I'm so glad you went with retard.
Right?
I'm sorry.
Having these really intense discussions about just, the way you do when you're preparing for something like this. But I just couldn't. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to have a set. No matter what happened, I knew that I could walk away from that, whether I did poorly or great. I tried my best. Yes. And then I would have no regrets.
I love the feeling of doing well, but I also, maybe more than that, hate and despise and loathe the feeling of I missed it.
Yeah.
That makes me feel so sick to my stomach and so awful for so long, and then revisits me like
potential.
Marley's ghost, time after time after time in the night. You missed it.
Yes,
it wasn't as good as it could have been.
I get shivers down my spine. I literally will convulse. I'll be in bed and go, ugh. I'll shake with a line that I could have said, that I blew in that moment, and it'll send a shiver down. My boyfriend will sometimes see me, and I'm just like, oh, because I go, I could have said this one thing, and I'm plagued by regret about things, and I just wanted to not. I'm always trying to avoid that feeling because it's the worst feeling.
My wife will be in, she turns in usually earlier, a little bit earlier. So she's usually reading, or she's about to go to sleep, and I'll be brushing my teeth in the bathroom, and I'll be like, fuck!
Yeah.
And she'll be like, what happened? Yeah. What happened? Like a bat flew in and bit you? And I'll say, no! My interview with Eartha Kitt, 1994. I didn't have the experience, and she came at me, and it was just a mess.
Yes.
And I'm not kidding. And
no, I'm sure.
But I was looking at your set was relentless. And at a certain point, I can tell that there's one thing when, I don't know, it's like in physics or something where a fire is so hot that then the air around it catches fire and there's no stopping it. At some point, you got to a point where you knew, oh, you had to. I can see it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think before when people have asked me about this, I've said I never really felt okay and like I could relax until I sat down. But I think when you just said that, I'm like, no, there was a point where I felt the audience like embrace me, and I felt there's just these moments where you get confidence that you don't necessarily have walking into it. And I go, oh, actually, I do. I think I do deserve to be here. And maybe these people like me and like they trust that this is going to go well. And I've said this so many times. I don't even need to look at the prompter. Like I didn't need to read it. I was kind of on my own. I had it memorized.
Well,
so I just
you know what you have coming
in the pocket.
So you know, like you're a bombardier, and you know, like, well, I've dropped 35 but there's 75 still back in the payload, and so you know you're loaded up, and so,
I think I had probably there was one joke in the middle that the wording was tripping me up on a couple sets. So once I got past that one, which was the one that was going to be my Achilles heel, once I got over that, I was like, okay, well then the rest of this is going to be fine. I know what you said, I know what I have coming. I felt prepared, and it really taught me that I need to do that more often. I need to give that kind of effort to everything I do. And then there was this moment afterwards where I was like, I can't give that much effort to everything I do.
No,
like,
you can't.
It was
but you know what? You have to choose your spots. Like I've had moments in my life where it's something's coming up, and it's, you know, on a big scale. And what I do is I act like this is a bank heist. I have to find 8 people who are going to help me plan this. We work on it every day. Yeah. And you were there, Sona, when I would. Whether it was, you know, hosting award shows or White House Correspondents' Dinner or something. Yeah, okay, I'm going to do the late night show. And then when the show is over, we're all going right upstairs, and jokes are going to fight it out, and new jokes are going to come in, and some jokes that we thought were funny are going to drop out. And it's just going to be, and you do that, and you go and you go and you go and you go and you go, and you do that for weeks. And I think the reason I talk about this stuff, some people might listen and say like, well, this isn't, you know, this is not fun to hear about. And I think people need to know that it's not just really smart, funny person, Nikki Glaser, got up in a room and killed, that there's a whole arc behind it that speaks to your character that brought you to that point. And I do think people need to know that. Well,
sometimes I'm like, I don't want anyone to know, because I want them to think I just did this on my own and it was just off the top of my head, and I'm just that funny all the time. And the truth is that was so much preparation going into that. It felt like a Olympic balance beam gymnast routine. Like that's how precise everything had to be in that moment. And because it was live and there was no edit, on past roasts, you can kind of go, oh, this joke kills 80% of the time. I'll take a risk with that 20%. If it happens, they'll cut it out. I know the editor. I can text him. But this was like, no, we only have to do 100% jokes that do 100%. So we had to get them to that, or they didn't make the cut. And that was really sad because a lot of jokes didn't make the cut. But I felt afterwards, I had like a couple days, maybe even longer, of feeling like, oh no, everyone's going to expect me to be like in this roast mode all the time where I'm just this like assassin that gets up there and is always this on. And it's just not, that just took, I can't do that every day.
Also,
and I felt scared about.
You're such a nice person, and the thing is, no, you are. You're a very. I mean, I've known you a long time. You're a very nice person, and unfailingly nice to like. You come in the building. You're kind to everybody. You're very genuine. You've always been extremely kind to me, and it gets to this point where you think it's great to kill at a roast, but also what's so nice is. I watched your special, Someday You'll Die. And it's very different from the roast, but very good and also very good. And my point is, you can do so much more than that you don't want to be someone who's like, it's Nikki, the roast girl. You don't want to do that because there's a lot more to you than that. And, there's...
I think, but, when I did the roast, it was like, everyone's like, this is the greatest thing we've ever seen. You won MVP. I've never gotten that for anything I've ever done in my life. I mean, maybe for appearances on your show, because honestly, I treated that this in the same way. I would prepare in ways that I don't really prepare for, no offense, I do prepare a lot for talk shows, but you just have meant so much to me that I wouldn't, I would always have everything memorized that I was going to say and like know the beats and know the order. And it was like, there was a lot of work went into all those appearances, and I would get that kind of those accolades after I would do those things, and I go, I can't live up to this. I just gotta be who I am, and it's so tough. Isn't it? Like to just like accept that you aren't what you might want to be, because I want to be you, you know, and I'm just not, and that's okay. And I watch you, and sometimes it's hard to watch you, to be honest, because you are so sharp and quick, and your word choice is so. I mean, I study.
What did you just say?
This is just making me.
I would
you
love
want to be him?
I would love to be Conan O'Brien.
No,
I would
you
give
wouldn't.
anything.
No, you wouldn't.
I know you're a tortured soul, but you know.
But can I just say? Can I? No.
But he also tortures other souls.
Right.
That's called collateral damage. And you're going to take it. Last time I checked, you're still getting a paycheck.